Alright guys, before we get into the video, we're going to be doing a new giveaway.
The D&D Beyond Players Bundle.
In that bundle, we have the Player's Handbook, the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide, Xander's Guide to Everything, and Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. So you're going to have tons of character options.
Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment down below on the video so you're entered to win a great giveaway coming from us very soon.
Alright guys, on to the video. Alright guys, welcome back to Urge. Moving on in the subclass series, on to the next subclass, which is the Phantom Rogue.
Boy.
So, if you're new to the channel, to the subclass series, what we're going to do is we're going to go through all the abilities gained in the subclass. Then we're going to rate it based on its roleplay value, combat value, and overall class synergy, based on how the abilities gained in this subclass improve on the base class abilities. So, without any further ado, Alex, take it away.
Alright. Oh boy. Yeah, I said that for a reason. This is going to be a fun one. So, starting off, you have two things at level 3. Whispers of the Dead. Whenever you finish a short or long rest, you can choose one skill or tool proficiency that you lack. And just like, that's mine now. Which is just fun to do. You lose this proficiency when you choose a different proficiency that you lack. So you can swap them around. And there's no limit to this. It's literally just like every short or long rest, you can just choose which proficiency you want to change. The other thing you get at level 3 is it's Wails from the Grave. Okay. Sneak attack damage. After you do it, you can then target a second creature up to 30 feet away from the first creature. Roll half the number of sneak attack die for your level, round it up, and that second creature takes necrotic damage equal to that roll's total. So sneak attack this guy, and some dude that's 20 feet over this way is going to take half of that, essentially. You re-roll the dice, it's different damage type, but essentially one and a half times your sneak attack.
Right.
As long as you've got 2 targets. That's the only small caveat there, but most time you're probably going to have 2 targets. Yeah. You can use this feature number of times equal to your proficiency bonus and regain all uses when you finish a long rest. So again, that's going to cap out at 6 times a day you can 1.5 sneak attacks.
Yes. Very interesting.
And oh wait, there's more.
Yes. It gets better.
It does get better.
At level 9, we get Tokens of the Departed. As a reaction, when a creature you can see dies within 30 feet of you, you can open your free hand and cause a tiny trinket to appear there, a soul trinket. The DM determines the trinket's form or has you roll on the trinkets table in the player's handbook. And you can have a max number of soul trinkets equal to your proficiency bonus, and you can't create one while you're at your maximum. So again, you'll eventually be able to have 6
Yes.
soul trinkets at a time. And of course you can spend one and then create another one, but you can't like have a 7th, 8th, 9th, can't go over cap.
Yeah.
You can use your soul trinkets in the following ways. You get 3 options. While the soul trinket is on your person, you have advantage on death saving throws and constitution saving throws, for your vitality is enhanced by the life essence within the object. So you just get a flat out buff.
That's a passive as long as you've got one.
And your death saving throws. Then you have the option to, when you steal sneak attack damage, you can destroy one of the soul trinkets that's on your person to then immediately use Wails of the Grave without expending use of that feature.
Right. So
if you wanted, you could use, instead of using one of the 6 uses for that ability eventually, you could use a soul trinket in its place. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have more uses of the extra sneak attack damage on your second target. Or third and final, you have an action. You can destroy a soul trinket no matter where it's located. It could be anywhere, bag of holding, whatever. When you do so, you can ask the spirit associated with the trinket one question. The spirit appears to you and answers in a language it knew in life. It's under no obligation to be truthful, and it answers as concisely as possible, eager to be free. The spirit knows only what it knew in life as determined by the DM. It's basically like a small Speak with Dead spell that you get to do. Just the one question, but it's specific to the creature that you killed, and you can do it at a later time or date, so if you're going to be planning on doing this, you might want to keep track of which soul trinkets you expend at what time.
I would
so
like,
that can get a little bit of
this. Okay.
Then at level 13, we have Ghost Walk. You can phase partially into the realm of the undead, becoming like a ghost. As a bonus action, you assume a spectral form. While in the form, you have a flying speed of 10 feet, you can hover, and attack rolls have disadvantage against you. You can also move through objects and creatures as if they were difficult terrain, but you take 1d10 force damage if you end your turn inside a creature or object. You can stay in this form for 10 minutes or until you end it as a bonus action. To use this feature again, you must finish a long rest or destroy one of your soul trinkets as part of the bonus action to use Ghost Walk again. So one thing I want to point out is usually when this happens, where you can end your turn inside of an object or creature, it usually specifies that you are shunted out to an unoccupied space within 5 feet.
Right.
Does not do that. So we'll get into that in the later portion of the video in the ratings.
Playing in your own dimension, you are.
There are some very crazy things you can do with that. So stay tuned for that.
Indeed. And finally, we have Death's Friend at level 17. And when some things are capstones, aren't really capstones. This is a capstone. When you use your whales from the grave, so your 1.5 times sneak attack, you can deal that half extra necrotic damage to both the original sneak attack target and the second creature. So you get 100% sneak attack damage on the original target and 50% of said sneak attack damage on the original target and a second target. So math says that's basically a crit sneak attack.
Essentially.
Yep. At the end of a long rest, a soul trinket appears in your hand if you don't have any soul trinket. So as long as you start every day, if you were unable to hold on to any, you spin them all like to try to blitz and all the sneak attack damage to get to bring the guy down, and you don't have any left. Well, start of the day, you at least have one. That way you can, if you want to go invisible like early on in the day, so you can move through walls and fly around, you at least have that option early on.
Yes. So, all that being said, those are all the abilities gained in the subclass. So now we'll move on to the ratings portion. First up is the roleplay value.
Here we
Asterisk, as always. When we're talking about the roleplay value, we're talking about interacting with the world around you, NPCs, avoiding combat, non-combat scenarios, basically things outside of the initiative order. Not talking about your class fantasy, history, background, lore, all of that is on you as a player. Can't rate you as a player, but we can rate the abilities gained in the subclass and how they might improve the potential to roleplay in those certain circumstances. I'm getting pretty good at getting that down.
We've only done it like
100 times.
100 times.
We're getting close.
Literally 100 times.
So, all that being said, being able to gain any skill on a short rest is kind of amazing.
It's pretty good.
Especially when you consider that you will have reliable talent.
Because you're a rogue.
Once you hit your proficiency cap, you'll be rolling a minimum of 16
on every skill check.
Whatever skill check you have.
The only small caveat that we discussed with this ability is you're not always maybe going to know what skill you should take. And Jason made a good point in that discussion where, if you're going to be in a city and you're going to be, you're going to be in a city urban environment, okay, you're going to switch it to persuasion deception that you don't have, something like that nature. If you're going to go through the jungle and the forest, maybe you take animal handling or survival or something like that nature that you don't have. So if you can plan ahead, you'll kind of know and you can make absolute use of very good ability. There are going to be some situations where you're not going to know what skill to take. So
the other thing is with the soul shards, being able to speak with the dead can become very useful, especially if you don't have someone who can cast Speak with Dead spell, for example.
Right.
Or if you don't want to waste, if you're in like a rough spot and you can't afford to use that spell slot to figure out some information, you could try to do something with the soul shard there. And then lastly, flying and phasing through walls, especially when you consider rogues and their ability to sneak, can become pretty crazy when you roll like a 30 stealth and you can fly and go through walls.
Or higher.
No one can hide from you because you will be flying up behind a building, going through the back wall, and you roll a 30 stealth, so... And you can, of course, do some, ghosty ghouly things with that, too. You could pretend you're like a ghost, dress up, do some weird stuff with that, so...
Absolutely.
Something to keep in mind as well. So we went with a 4 out of 5 on the roleplay value. Lots of potential on here. Some limiting factors where you might not know, like, what best to use in certain circumstances.
Sure.
Or you don't have a chance to short rest and swap stuff, so... There's some limited on there, and also the soul shards do have to be expended for these, for a couple of these abilities.
Right.
So, and you only have a limited number of those as well.
Right.
Though there is always squirrel hunting.
So that
if the GM lets you.
Yeah, it comes more to resource management. Normally you get a pretty good score, and maybe it's a little. No, this is just as good as class, guys. This one's just good. So first of all, sneak attack, as we pointed out in discussion. Probably one of the better, has competition to be the best individual ability in 5e.
It's in the short list.
Especially in combat, obviously. Just because it can be so much damage in a hurry. And there's multiple ways rogues can trigger it.
Right.
Then there's this one. But now, not only do you get to do your sneak attack because you're a rogue, you can now hit somebody else. And they don't have to be right next to them, because a lot of times you got abilities that seem to be like this. It's a cleave kind of thing.
Yeah, within 5 feet or 10 feet.
5 feet, maybe 10. No, 30. Goodness, that's a long way away. Like the only time this ability is not going to be fantastic is when you're only fighting one target,
of course, or
if you're fighting two and one's way the far over there. But in grand majority of combats, you're going to have two targets, and you better be smart enough to position yourself where you can make the most use of this as possible.
And I just had one thought too: is even if you're fighting something and you're like outdoors, when you hit something, you could be like, "Damn, is there like a bird nearby?" Because you could kill that bird and reaction get a soul shard. I just thought of that. It's crazy. So.
He's a min-maxer.
If your DM is there, he probably will be like, "No, there's nothing near you. There's no ant.
You
there's
hear
no bugs.
Nothing but the wind." But yes, very, very fantastic. And it's number of uses per day based on your proficiency bonus. And again, if you want to just keep popping them, you make sure you're getting your soul shards, so you can just keep doing it even above the maximum number the original ability says you can use it.
Right.
Which gets us to the tokens. And I think a lot of people, when they read this, are going to overlook the passive. The fact that Constitution saving throws can be really big. You think stuff like against being poisoned. Imagine with death saving throws, you hope you don't have to use that, but in a pinch, could be helpful. And it doesn't cost you anything besides just having one on hand. And yeah, being able just to pop those at will to do your 1.5 time sneak attack damage. Okay. This is where stuff gets a little bit silly. Ghost Walk. It lasts for 10 minutes. It just takes you a bonus action. Attack rolls against you have disadvantage. Well, that's not bad to start with.
Yeah, no kidding.
Okay. You know what?
I'll take it away on here because I was the one who trumpeted
this was his shenanigans.
As I mentioned earlier, it doesn't say that you're shunted out of a space. You can end your turn, you'll take 1d10 damage. Sure, whatever.
You have gone through the floor.
Okay, so you go through the floor. You bonus action hide. Okay, you are hidden. You're in the ground. You can still move in the ground. It's difficult terrain if you want to. So you could go on the ground and you can move some and then pop up somewhere else. You're not right where you hid, because sometimes games are like, if you just sit down in a corner, you're not really hidden because they saw you sit down there. Well, you can move through the terrain underground and pop up on the other side of them or something like that.
Yep.
So you do that. You have sneak attack. And you shoot them, and then you go back in the ground. And guess what? When you end your turn, you get 1d10 damage against you, but they can't hit you because you were in the ground.
They're in the ground.
So even that, yes, they would have disadvantage if they did have the chance to hit you. So if maybe you're getting low health, you just risk the disadvantage. But that 5 or whatever average damage that you're going to be taking from the D10 is probably going to be less than you would take from a big boy hitting you for 30 or 40.
Any ability and attack that you're going to be fighting when you hit level 13 and higher.
So you're going to be able to get some reliable damage and mitigate a lot of damage coming to you potentially.
Yep. Then finally we have the capstone. And again, it feels like a capstone because you feel it. Because not only are you now dealing 1.5 sneak attacks, you're doing a sneak attack and 2 half sneak attacks, aka 2 sneak attacks. And math says 2 attacks damages is like critting the original damages, because it is. And not only is it just critting the damage, the second half of that is not piercing slashing damage.
Right.
It's necrotic damage. So it's much less likely to be resisted than piercing damage is.
The wording is trying to limit the crit potential of this.
Because it would be so busted.
If your DM lets you, then yeah, you're going to be able to deal an absurd amount of damage if he lets you crit on this as well. But it does specify that you only can roll the amount equal to half of your level. So that's going to make it seem like you can't crit that damage. You can still crit the original damage, of course, which is good, but it's not going to really make a difference.
So, all that said, 4.5 out of the possible 5, and really the only half a flump missing there is twofold. Like what I mentioned with that first ability is if you're only fighting one target, that first ability is useless. So, or if you've eliminated all the other targets and you're down to just the last one, you can't do anything else to it. Or if you're fighting 2 and they happen to be on too far apart. And then you do run into a doubled up resource usage. There is a little bit of limitation there, but again, where you're nitpicking just a little bit because it's overall, it's very, very good.
Yes, definitely. And then moving on, lastly, into the overall class synergy. We touched on a lot of the main points already, but
Yeah, pretty much.
some of the big stuff with the rogue is obviously sneak attack, uncanny dodge, evasion, things like that.
Reliable talent.
Yeah, reliable talent is another big
comes
one.
comes up bigger in this place.
Sneak attack is already probably one of the best abilities in 5th edition, and this just makes it even better.
Yep.
And then the ability to swap, again, skills with proficiency and reliable talent is pretty ridiculous.
Yep.
And then, of course, phasing and hiding and going through difficult walls and things like that, difficult terrain, while stealthing can be pretty ridiculous, even if you do end up having to take some damage. You know, if you have to stay inside a wall or something.
Right.
Still very solid. So we don't want to repeat everything again, because we went pretty in-depth originally the first time on most of these abilities. So we'll just go straight to it. 4.5 out of 5 on the synergy as well. Very solid, very strong, very well-rounded subclass. You have really strong synergy, really strong combat. The RP is pretty solid, but it does have limitations on it for sure. Definitely very solid, very interesting. But before we finish, we have a quote from Tasha about this subclass. What does she say on this one?
Collecting the souls of your defeated foes in everyday objects. What a good idea. Though, I'd probably need an encyclopedia to hold all of my anti-admirers.
Yeah, it's that thing. It's like keeping the log of whose souls you got in there.
Yeah.
It could become very...
Because remember, keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer.
There you go.
That's what this subclass
And then you just break them.
Then you use them
Use the anger.
to damage the rest of your enemies.
Use your anger. Yes. Anyways, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this one. So if you enjoyed the video, please remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you know all of our new videos are coming out and so that you're entered into that giveaway that we'll be doing. So,
Free stuff.
yes, always love to see what you have to say down below in the comments. And as always, guys, thanks for watching.